Story 1. I would love a world where no president had the power to pardon themselves, their family members, or anyone who was acting on an order of or acting for the benefit of the president unless he or she had approval of Congress or perhaps some independent special counsel. Because if you give a man that power to use for his personal desires, of course he will use it. I totally get why Biden did it. I truly think a random civilian in Hunter's situation would have gotten the plea deal offered earlier, if they were charged at all. But I also totally get people who will look at that and say, Hunter got away with everything because he's the president's son. Well, this is the world we live in. The acts of the president are presumed good and legal, and pardons have never been given scrutiny for corruption. I'm less upset that Joe did what he did, and significantly more upset that he could. Edit. If you're really upset about this, keep an eye out for Representative Steve Cohen. Each Congress, he posts a resolution to limit a presidential pardon to not include a self-pardon or a family pardon. Write your incoming congressman and tell them to co-sponsor the resolution. You can look at the past 115th, 116th, 117th, and 118th congressional runs to see who has co-sponsored it. It's no more than a resolution to try to amend the Constitution, but it has to start somewhere. Story 2. Biden's statement on it is here. Honestly, this part of it rings true. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. I think the president should not be able to subvert the course of justice by issuing pardons, which would be a conflict of interest, which this one absolutely is. But there's also no way to look at what happened with Hunter Biden's case and come to any conclusion other than there was massive political influence brought to bear, and that the trial became a perversely partisan attack on Joe Biden through his son. This was a case of evil being used to combat evil, and it's hard to feel too upset about it. Story 3. Trump pardoned his son-in-law's father, Charles Kushner, for tax evasion, and that man will now be ambassador to France. Trump is promising to pardon January 6th rioters. So what's wrong with Biden pardoning his own son? If we had wanted the pre-2016 ideals of justice, then we wouldn't have elected Donald Trump to a second term. Story 4. If for no other reason, it's great to see all these Republicans out here saying they believe in moral purity. Of course, none of them complained about the pardons of Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, or Roger Stone. So I literally mean tonight. Story 5. I'm confused by anyone surprised by this, or that it was a blanket pardon putting him on the other side of several statutes of limitation. Trump has been screaming about locking people up for imagined crimes for over 10 years, and a huge portion of his messaging in 2024 was about prosecuting his political opponents. People trying to put this situation in a vacuum as a purity test for Democrats is a joke. Story 6. In a void, I don't approve. In an ideal world, no such thing would ever happen. But since a bunch of insane, stupid, hateful, and/or greedy people just said 34 felonies aren't enough to keep you out of the White House, and the Supreme Court said the president can do whatever he wants, I don't have an issue with it. It's kind of like how I might prefer that one of my coworkers not take extra long breaks literally every day. But I'm not that concerned with it compared to the coworker who's having an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, stealing from the company safe, and punching me in the face 3 times a week. If Republicans want me to care that Biden pardoned his son, they should have cared about literally any of the crimes their guy committed first. Edit. If any fascist Trump supporters reply to me, I'm blocking. I'm not interested in your contributions to this conversation, to Reddit, or to society at large. Story 7. Trump has already said he will go after Biden and his son Hunter with malice, and he doesn't care if the charges aren't legal. If I were Joe Biden, I would have pardoned Hunter. Story 8. The American people just gave a huge green light to letting the president run roughshod over the rule of law to enrich himself and his family. I can't blame Biden for taking the feedback and protecting his family. Story 9. I'm in federal prison on a nonviolent drug charge, serving a mandatory minimum sentence because of the 1994 crime bill. I didn't think politicians could be more self-righteous and hypocritical, but life has a way of proving you wrong. It's sad. I have a family too, But shockingly, my dad isn't the president. Story 10. As a voting Democrat, I am not impressed, to be honest. Sure, the other side has more felons on their scorecard, but that doesn't make it okay. This is my ultimate fear with Make America Great Again. We're all just collectively dropping our standards. Story 11. Trump pardoned Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, Stephen K. Bannon, and George Papadopoulos, among many others. Hunter did minor stuff compared to these guys and didn't try to hurt America. Story 12. We just elected a president who was a convicted felon. Trump found a loophole and played the system. His charges are dropped. I think Biden was well within his rights to pardon his son, since our justice system is a joke to excuse Trump. Besides, if he didn't, Trump would do terrible things to his son to the highest extent. Biden was in the right. You don't always have to be the bigger person. Story 13. Biden was about to watch Trump use the power of the Oval Office to pardon the people who tried to overturn his election in 2020. My guess is he figured if Trump would do that, he wasn't going to watch his son deal with actual consequences. The norms in this country are gone. They were gone the moment the electorate chose a felon over a qualified candidate like Kamala. I'm at full-blown zero concern mode with the country as a whole and don't care about anything anymore. Story 14. The most progressive president in modern times just lost an election because his party lost the working class. Good for him. It seems the first person to actually learn the lesson of the 2024 election is the man himself. Story 15. Shrug. Republicans have made it very clear that they really don't care about laws and precedent, so why should the Democrats? Additionally, the former president has been screaming about a witch hunt for the last 8 years, whereas Hunter Biden has actually been living through one. I'm glad Biden did this. Story 16. As a non-American, this is such a weird concept. That the standing president has the ability to do that, let alone the ex-president. In my opinion, they should not have the right to pardon anyone. They are there to lead the country, not get involved in individual cases in court. In my opinion, it is almost an abuse of power, using the fact that you are the president or ex-president to dismiss charges on someone. Story 17. He should not stop at Hunter. There are tens of thousands of other people rotting in jail for racially and politically motivated drug crimes who do not have the president as their father. Story 18. He needs to pardon all the student debt that everyone was persuaded into taking. Yes, persuaded. Think about it. We're told all our lives as children that you need college to get a job and make your dreams come true. If you don't go to college, you're nobody. You better go to college or you'll be cut off, or face the shame of the family and society, and be homeless. What's that? Your parents didn't save up any money at all? Go ahead and take this loan, 17-year-old underage child. It's messed up. Erase all the interest. It's literally predatory and should be illegal. You should only have to pay your full debt when you take a loan as an adult, not as a child. And the interest rate should be capped really low by the government, at least for student loans. It's ridiculous. Especially nowadays when a degree doesn't mean much in many career paths. People want experience and skills, not a degree. If I could go back in time, I'd never go to college. My family could be upset all they want, but I'd be much better off. It was a huge waste of time. I'd be years ahead and debt-free if I didn't go. Story 19. Hard to believe that he was said no one is above the law, then proceeds to say he did it because they are only going after Hunter for political reasons. Seems the same could be said about Trump. They are all lying sacks of shit. Story 20. Let's be honest, Hunter was pursued because he was Biden's son. If he was a Republican senator, he would have gotten away with it. His conviction, while justified, was political. Story 21. Do I think it was right? No. Do I understand? Yes. Does this matter? No. Watch Trump pardon himself in 5 weeks. Easily a worse violation of ethics. Story 22. In December 2020, Donald Trump was allegedly selling pardons for $2 million, essentially bribes. Yes, Hunter Biden did what he did. There is no excusing it, but we all know well that the Department of Justice is about to be used by the Trump administration against their enemies, also known as Democrats, and Hunter would be a top target because they can. I truly hope Biden spends the next 2 months using presidential immunity powers that the Supreme Court granted. Forget them. Story 23. Not a fan of it whatsoever. It was bad when Trump did it, it's bad now, and it was bad when done in the past. The pardon, if it exists at all, should come with many more caveats and be extremely limited. If he wasn't the son of the President of the United States, he would not be given a pass, so how do you then tell someone else they have to rot in prison for the same thing? Story 24. Good. Because that's the standard of United States politics. It's about time Democrats matched the Make America Great Again party, the party that Americans want in power. You can't fix or change what doesn't want to be fixed or changed. So take your slice of pie before they eat it all. Story 25. Time to accept your country is a third world nation run by the rich. Whether it's President Joe Biden or former President Donald Trump, you have the legal system of a banana republic. So keep at it while the world watches in tears, joy, or sadness. The dominance lasted long enough already. Story 26. Ethically, it doesn't look good, but I can't say I'm surprised. He's on his way out and old as hell. I doubt he cares much anymore, especially now that the Democrats fumbled the election again, and he probably just wants to be able to spend time with his family. I don't really care about Hunter. He didn't do anything that bad to my knowledge, though it still doesn't set a great precedent, in my opinion. Story 27. This was pretty short-sighted, and there may be further repercussions. Hunter now has a magnifying glass over an 11-year period that had little to nothing to do with any issue from a gun purchase form. Now, with this clemency, he will be brought in to further hearings to get to the bottom of other investigations. You know what you don't need to do if you have immunity? Plead the fifth. So if in the hearing, someone wants to ask about anything imaginable, Hunter faces a dilemma. Do I point the finger against others involved, or who could be prosecuted in Dad's group of friends? Or do I end up opening myself up to perjury and lie? I do not have immunity for anything moving forward. On the other side of things, Patel was an assistant United States attorney, worked as a deputy to the Director of National Intelligence, worked in intelligence committees, and other just below cabinet level positions. He's seen the inner workings of how things work in Washington. While he's doing his job investigating the Burisma scandal and trying to work with Biden's Department of Justice, not only did the Department of Justice drag their feet providing what he was asking for, they also decided to start an investigation against Patel, totally not a move by Biden's Department of Justice to go after political opponents. Because that's wrong, right? Patel is ready to be let off the leash here to not just do his job. But if I had to guess, he's got some motivation to do so. My prediction, Biden will extend further pardons to himself, Comey, Garland, basically all the policy people in all the major cabinet decisions. Anyone who said investigate parents, investigate our political enemies that are looking into us, investigate regular Americans that go to church, whatever. Granted, this is all speculation and maybe I'm totally wrong. Just my 2 cents. Story 28. Why leave your son, who has paid the price for his drug addiction, mired with a possible Department of Justice who will make sure he spends 20 years for what everybody would be sentenced to drug addiction classes as a first-time offender? I can't blame Joe Biden for doing it. Story 29. Honestly, good for him. I think the whole take the high ground and be the nice guy isn't working. If Trump is going to do whatever he wants and appoint family and friends to positions and unqualified people left and right and is flaunting that he's immune from everything, Biden should do whatever he wants. Story 30. I understand why a father would do this, but you all carrying water for this man is crazy. Hunter needs jail time. This is clearly a two-tier system of justice. Down votes be damned. Story 31. I think there is no president in my lifetime that would not have done the exact same thing under the circumstances. It would be different if it was murder or any number of other charges. I am not saying he is a good man, but any parent would do the same. Let us move on. This is a waste of discussion. Story 32. I never gave a thought about Hunter Biden. The people who created the Hunter Biden panic are the same ones who took us to war in Iraq. They know how uninformed their audience is. Story 33. Let's not forget that Aileen Cannon dismissed Trump's document hoarding case in Florida, saying that the special counsel is unconstitutional. Since Hunter Biden was investigated by the special counsel, that tosses his conviction as well. Story 34. We have much larger problems to worry about than this. Boo-hoo, he did something he said he wouldn't do. That's Trump's whole game plan, and he won an election on that. At this point, Trump might give Hunter a cabinet appointment. Story 35. As a father, I would do it too. The Democratic National Committee wronged Joe, so he is going to help his son. He honestly does not owe the Democrats anything at this point. By the time 2028 rolls around, this will be ancient history. Story 36. A politician using his power to benefit himself and those closest to him. Next, you're going to tell me water is wet. But in all seriousness, it wasn't a matter of if, just a matter of when.